call the May 1st, 2017 regular council meeting to order. Flag salute. Councilor May, please. Thank you. Roll call. Motion to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2017 special council meeting.
So moved.
Jan, is there a second?
Second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Petitions, communication, citizens' requests. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come forward, state your name and address. Okay. Moving on to reports. For me, just want to make sure everybody knows the meeting dates. I believe Irene sent out the calendar, so it is, the next one will be, for anybody, the Finance Committee for sure, but anybody that wants to show up would be the, oh wait a minute, let's start with Miles things. Miles retirement party on Wednesday, May 10th from 11:30 to 1 right here at City Hall. And then the next one would be the 11th, Thursday 11th Finance meeting at 2 p.m. That's with the big three. Correct, Bill?
Yes.
Talk about the heavy equipment. And then we'll have our budget meeting on Monday, the 15th. We'll start at 5 p.m. From 5 to 6, we'll do the smaller departments. And then from 6 to 8, we'll do the 4 bigger ones. Give them about 30 minutes each. And is that, I think that's it, right, Bill?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Standing committees. City councilors. EJ.
One of the things I think we've brought up in the past, and I think it would be important to talk a little bit more at the next committee meeting, is the discussion around the landlord registration program. I know Chief Wilcox and his team have been doing a lot of great things to sort of get ahead of the drug activity going around in town, but I think to approach the problem from a holistic perspective, focusing also obviously on the law enforcement, but work with landlords, work with others in the community, other stakeholders, to really try and get ahead of this. It seems to be a frustrating epidemic that I think many rural towns in Maine are facing, but I think it involves an approach from both ends. I know Scott's doing a lot of great things with the training, but trying to find ways to solve the problem of landlords being held a little bit more accountable for people moving in who are creating meth labs and causing a lot of disruption in the town. And I know there's a lot of sort of challenges with the rights of tenants and things like that, but I think part of the solution can be working with those trainings to be a little bit proactive and letting others know who are thinking about buying up places in town and to rent them out that we're not going to put up with that behavior and try and get ahead of it. Because I'm, to be honest, sick and tired of it and want to try and find a solution. So we need to attack it from both ends. Maybe a landlord registration program, keep putting resources into what Chief Wilcox and his crew are doing. Work with the schools, work with everybody. It needs to be an approach that we attack from all angles. Economic development is also part of there to make sure we're working to bring businesses so that people aren't sitting around with nothing to do. People are out working and paying taxes and not ending up trying to blow up the library.
Right.
Could I add a thought to that?
Sure, absolutely.
Because it may take some research, but I might have different thoughts than he has about the landlords, but I'm wondering if it's possible. I know there's an organization that once you've been evicted in court and it's passed the court case, it becomes a matter of public record. I'm wondering if the city could produce a list of anybody that's convicted of a drug crime so that landlords could, we don't need to solve this tonight.
No,
we're going to bring it before the
yeah,
committee.
just a quick question though. Go ahead.
A list so that
Right.
if you've been convicted of any drug crime whatsoever, it's on the city website so that I, as a landlord, could go to that website, and look and see who's been convicted if they want to live in my apartment.
Right. And I think EJ's attacked it, Stan's attacking it, and my approach is going to be, you saw probably one of my emails, is want to work with the landlords here, and I understand that I've learned so much from Stan telling me that you can't just go in anymore and just kick somebody out. There's a whole process, and he might know there's something going on that this person shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but he might take them a month or better to even get the person out. So as long as we can work with the landlords and make this happen, I think we're all going to be in a better place. So we'll do it at the next committee meeting, which actually I want to do it during your budget time. I want to bring some of it up then. And we're going to give you a list of stuff. I want to talk to everybody, have them send me emails so you'll know ahead of time what we're talking about. But ideas like that, I think that's what we need to do with the training. I didn't know about till Bill told me. I think that's a great idea. I think any landlords that go to that, EJ's suggestion was to promote them. Yeah, this landlord, they've been trained through the city of Old Town. I think that's great, so people know that stuff.
I agree with that. The only thing I guess that I would ask is if we want to talk about disrupted properties and landlords and convictional data that's going to be released, I think that's fine in a public setting.
Yeah.
If we want to start to talk and get into the weeds about the drug problem, I would prefer to do that in an executive session where there are some things that we wouldn't air to the
Right.
public at this point.
I think it's just working with the landlords, seeing what we
Yeah.
can find out. I didn't think of what you suggested. I mean, I think things like that to help the landlords, because I think from what I hear, like on this last incident, this person was already trying to get somebody evicted. He was going through that process of getting that person evicted. So, if we would know that ahead of time, it'd help you know that. So I think that we just got to work with the landlords, have them work with us. It's going to take a team effort to make this work.
I agree with that, and I also agree with the drug portion is huge, and I think that it certainly warrants a much deeper discussion, so that to bring everybody up to speed as to what is actually going on and where we're at. But again, I wouldn't put that out.
No, we can have a separate
I would
session
do a
on
separate
that.
session on that,
Yeah.
and then whatever we want to discuss about disruptive properties and how we're moving forward, because I think that's been a pretty good success at this point
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great.
Yep, sure.
Thank you, Chief.
I just wanted to say one thing about the disruptive properties. If they are in the process of eviction, they don't keep getting notices, right?
They're not getting
They're
fined
not
each
going to
day.
be fined each time.
No,
As long as you know that process is going on.
that is correct. They do not.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I took
Yeah.
from it the other day was finding this out, that I'm not sure if these landlords are telling you that they're trying to, in the process of trying to evict these people, which if they tell you that would help you out.
That is correct. We've actually had two of those situations where they've been trying to go through the eviction process,
Right.
in which at that point one discussion was with an attorney, which I consider that the meeting.
Right.
And so we stop at that point. We know you're trying to do everything that you can. We're not going to hold your feet to the fire when you're trying to do the best that you can within
Right.
the law. And it is very difficult to get
Exactly.
unruly tenants out.
Yeah.
So no, they're not being fined.
And that you're not going to still have to answer calls there if they're
Right.
still living
That's
there,
right.
but they don't have to be
Yep,
fined.
that's right. But that helps, and when we keep the landlord informed of those calls, that helps them
That's
in the
right.
eviction process.
That's, yeah,
So, yeah.
okay.
Perfect.
You have to look at that too, and I certainly don't want to speak for the police chief. He can tell you how he deals with laws, but I mean, there's discretion in anything that he does. So,
Right.
he's not going to read that ordinance and apply it the exact
Yeah,
same
without-
way
If
he
every
doesn't
time
need
he
to, right.
deals with a situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
The chief did conduct one of those drug information meetings for landlords. Not too many came though, did they? That night?
No, but out of that, I will tell you that we have had one of the landlords that did attend, actually came into the police department and applied what he had learned and actually asked for some help reaching out. So that's positive. That's a good start. We're headed the right direction.
And I think hopefully the next one you have will get more attendance after we
Yeah, I hope
discuss
so.
this. I think that's going to help out.
Sure, yeah.
Great.
Great.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other counselors? Anything coming up?
Well,
Got a-
Riverfest, but that's the end of September.
End of September. We got the parade coming up too.
Parade is
Yep.
the end of May.
End of May. Okay. Okay. City attorney.
Nothing to report, still waiting for the State Property Tax Review Board to issue its written decision on the last Expera appeal, and until that happens, the time for them to appeal if they choose to doesn't run.
Okay.
Doesn't start till then.
Okay. Special committee, city manager.
The 15th, I'll bring back some more information on Jefferson Street School on the cleanup. We can discuss it just in general on what the total cost potentially could be on that.
And that was, I mean, if I understand that right, basically if we don't do it, that
It's
group,
not going to get
that
developed.
group's gonna walk away. Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay.
Little bit behind on spring cleanup right now.
When does it start?
Late-
Next week?
Late, well, no, I mean overall in the
Oh.
whole city, cemeteries, everything.
Because of the rain.
Right. So, and looking at next week's forecast, it doesn't look very good either, but try and, they'll try to get into all that stuff as much as they can, but it's,
There's so much you can
difficult.
do.
yeah.
The only thing it's good for is
Just giving you a
sweeping
heads
the,
up.
Sweeping the
sweeping the,
streets is probably
that's
good
the
with
only
that.
thing it's good for
Phone
us.
calls start coming, we're trying, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Before
Oh,
they
yeah.
get there. The Elm Street sewer project, which kind of spills over a little bit into Stillwater and Oak. We actually have an extension on that. We're working with Wright Pierce right now and Trombley to try to get a more defined time on that. They were a little bit crunched on time to get it done, so we got an extension on it. So it'll be later on this fall, and that gets all finished, all those sewer line extensions.
So they're gonna go back and tear that up and fix it.
Yep.
Did we
The
figure
Elm
out
Street, yes.
on Elm Street?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we figure out the material, or just because of the weather? It was
Well, part of it was binder, part of it was material back in the hole. They're gonna have to dig a test pit out at the end of Elm on the Center Street side to determine what's in there.
That's gonna take until fall?
Not just that one project, no.
Are they gonna finish that one up and work on the others?
They're putting
Get
it.
that ugly
They're putting
all
their
summer.
they're putting their schedule together right now. They're part of that on our CSO stuff comes through DEP. We were supposed to finish that about 1.5 years ago on those other lines. So we want to make sure that we don't get any potential violations or any issues with our lines on those other streets.
so their priority is fixing the lines first and then
We'll
going
try to
back.
get the binder taken care of, so there's no potholes there, but the finished coat of pavement won't get done until they start doing all the other,
when they do all the
other
finish.
lines, right?
Right. But at least if they can get the potholes out and put the binder in, that's
Yep.
at least it won't have to be all summer driving on that.
Right.
But I understand that they got to get the lines. That's a priority to
Yeah.
them.
They couldn't come in, roads are posted, so they just got their equipment.
Everything just
Some
happened
of
this
it
week
just
from what I
starting to come
gathered.
in,
Yeah. Yes.
We try to follow those same laws too.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
That's it for me.
Okay, and you'll get us before the meeting on the 15th. You'll get us those three options as far as 3%, 4%, 5%.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Bill? No. Consent agenda, public hearings, old business. Moving on to new business, we have 4 items tonight. First item, the city council will consider approval of an application from Tim Caliandro for a major special event permit to hold a Memorial Day parade and veteran celebration in the Riverfront Park. Sponsors for the event are City of Old Town Canoe, Old Town Trading Post, Old Town VFW, and American Legion, Birmingham Funeral Home, Sia Bus Company, The Breeze Bakery, O.J. Folsom, and Dirigal Slip Form. Councilor Klitsch.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves an application from Tim Caliendo, is that how you say it?
Caliandro, yep.
For a major special event permit to hold a Memorial Day parade and Veterans celebration in the Riverfront Park on May 29th, 2017, and to waive the permit fee.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? 6-0. Second item, the city council consider authorizing city manager to sell a portion of city-owned land to James Mitchell. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to take all the necessary steps to sell a portion of city-owned land located on tax map 31, Lot 189 to James Mitchell.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And discussion. Okay, Dave. So I myself, I don't know what the other councils have, but I myself have 4 questions for you. FEMA regulations, the sewer main, is there another piece of property in the city that maybe he could use? And is this in the city's best interest to sell this piece of property, knowing what you're gonna tell me about the other things?
Dave Russell, Code Officer. As we discussed prior, there is a sewer main. I handed out some maps. It's the green line that runs down through. There's a manhole at the pump station, which is approximately 14 feet in depth. The next one down, next to where you see 188, which was Mr. Mitchell's property.
Okay, so the green line is the sewer line,
Yeah, and the green circles are catch basins,
okay?
and they wrap around the end of the island. That's at 8 feet. The depth-wise, it's approximately the same. It's the topography that changes. So you've got something that's a minimum of 8 feet deep, maximum of 14 feet deep.
Wow.
In the area that Mr. Mitchell would like to continue working with.
Wait, I'm sorry, Dave, does he, going by your map, where does he have things planted now compared to that sewer line?
Between where the bright yellow line is that boxes it out,
Yes,
in between that sewer main, there's some raised beds in there. What you see more towards the shoreland is just ledge, and
Okay.
boulders.
okay,
So he's pretty much up in that upper area towards his property.
okay.
It is in the floodplain, as you can see on your maps. It's a little faded, but the blue hash marks,
Oh,
you
all those
see?
lines going that way?
that's all
Floodplain?
floodplain.
Is that a 100-year floodplain or a 50-year?
That's a 100-year floodplain, and that's based on the 1978 FEMA maps, which is the most current that we have. Would I play devil's advocate and ask, is there a difference now? There probably is, but until we have new flood maps, which they are in the process, I have to enforce what we have on the books.
So this, if I'm seeing this right, that goes all the way up to half the properties of 185, 186, 187, way up there.
Yeah.
And again, this was due to, in the 78, I think we were still probably doing log drives in the Penobscot, and we
Right.
had dams everywhere.
So,
But again, I have to administer this. And one of the reasons I'm firmly believe I have to administer this, if you all saw in an email that Bill had sent a while back, through my due diligence and a lot of hard work, we were able to save people in the floodplain another 5% because I worked very diligently with FEMA in our accreditation. I feel that's important and I want to protect that. We also have a floodplain management ordinance that basically he would have to have a flood hazard development permit. He may get it, he may not. There's a whole host of things as far as adding fill. I went out and met with Mr. Mitchell prior to our last meeting, and there was still snow on the ground. That was all, if you're looking at your map to the end of Front Street, that was all dry land. For the last 3 weeks, it's been underwater, and I took pictures today as late as 5:30. And it's my opinion that while what he's doing is in the floodplain, I look at it as legal nonconforming and agree that that's okay, but I don't think it should be expanded. And that's my opinion.
so you're okay with
What he has there
Doing what
is
he's doing
minimal
now.
in that area, even with the high water that we have now, not saying that something happened downstream that it could wash that away, but that's still pretty high up in there.
right?
And I don't want to take away from him what he's been cultivating.
But you're okay with everything he's doing right now with.
And this has been an eye-opening because as many times as we've had these meetings, I've had to dig deeper into my responsibilities as a
Right.
floodplain administrator.
Well, my concern has been from day one more about the sewer main, more about if we had to go in and dig something up, if something happened, if Mr. Mitchell had some stuff planted there, you know, if we dug it up, you know, we'd be responsible, that type of thing. But then I started looking more towards the FEMA regulations also. So just for my curiosity, is there, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Mitchell to speak also, but is there any other piece of property on the island at all? On French Island that he could do what he's doing, or?
Not that I know of on the island. We do have other parcels away from downtown
Right,
that may be something he'd want to look at.
okay. Okay, any questions? I'm gonna have Mr. Mitchell come up. Any questions for Dave at this point, from anyone? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Hello again.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Cold.
So as far as another piece of land, if I remember right, at one of the meetings you mentioned you're doing this for yourself, but also for other people that would like to plant that can't, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I'd like to create an example of what can be grown on a small piece of land.
Right. So would that be a problem if it was just another parcel within the city? I know this is closer, very close to you, probably more convenient.
Certainly.
But I'm just wondering if we could find something else for you in another part of the city.
I suppose that that's a possibility. That's such a new idea that I haven't even had a thought about that.
Right. And this is just, you know, the other councils will jump into it at some point, but I just, I myself am worried about the sewer main. I'm not so much worried about the flood. I think Dave is correct, you know, with the new regs coming out, things would probably change on that, but I'm really bothered by if something happens with that sewer main that we're going to have to go in there and dig that up.
Well, I'd like to point out that the area I'm interested in is south of the sewer main, so it would not be impacted if there was a disaster on the sewer main. In fact, as David knows, all of my development so far is over the sewer main. So I would lose everything that I've done for the last 7 or 8 years if we had to dig that all up. I wouldn't lose it. I would just, it would be a nuisance.
Right.
But I want to stay south of the sewer main because it is a valid concern. The sewer main goes to that catch basin and then it veers in an easterly direction. I want to head south of there.
Right. So is it that much of a problem just to keep doing what you're doing, that if we just let you, without selling you the property, you can still plant the stuff and do what you do in that area?
That is an option. And in point of fact, if this resolution is not approved, I would continue what I'm doing in a lukewarm way. I want to jump in with both of my feet and really put a lot of effort and time into the project. So I would continue on. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but I would feel that I had a possible dream that would never realized.
Right.
I would like to say something that David brought up, and this is eye-opening to me. I just recently sold an adjoining lot to my lot. I had 2 lots there.
So I see 188. What's the other one you have?
Across the street. Right across the street. It's the old house that I bought from the Taylor family. And I lived there for a number of years. And then I built across the street on a separate lot. So they're neighborhood. My insurance company, when I did some refinancing, forced me to buy flood insurance, which aggravated me because with the dam gone, it's a total different situation. Well, when I sold the property, and this was just 2 weeks ago, I was going through the closing with the new owner, and I said, you don't have flood insurance listed here. And she said, no, they looked at the new maps, and I don't have to have it. And I said, new maps? So I am trying to negotiate. I don't know what maps she's talking about, but at least one insurance company says, you don't need flood insurance because you're not in, with the dams gone, there is no danger of flooding there. But really the issue on, these are side issues. I mean, there is a sewer line there. I am at risk right now, but I don't want to plant over the sewer line, anywhere close to it. I want to plant on city land, but I would like it to be my land so that all of that work is work for my legacy, my grandchildren. But the issue of whether FEMA would approve or not is not, that would be my problem. If you sold me a little bit of that land, it would be I would have to deal with FEMA. And likewise, if they said you can't grow corn on this land because it's underwater right now, that would be my problem. Now, I suggest that the water that David talks about right now, there's a couple inches of water there. It drains out after the spring rush. It drains out, and I believe that would have been the logical place a couple 500 years ago, that the natives would have planted corn along the river there. I think that's what I think. I would like to have a chance to prove that. It would be a gamble, but it would be a seasonal crop and no development would go on there. I wouldn't be making raised beds there because that's silly. It gets underwater at once a year, but a little bit, a couple inches of water. So all these issues are not germane to the issue of this is unused land. It's been not, I've been caretaking it for for the 20 years I've been there. And I want to take more care to develop it more. And so that's why I'm asking you to sell me a little bit of that land.
Any questions for Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, I'm curious how much a little bit is and how much you're paying for it.
Correct, and that would be an issue. Now, David did, in his original letter, there was a proposal for a memorandum of understanding or something along that line, and he had actually plotted some out. Basically, toward the river, about 100 feet, and south about a couple hundred feet. At that time, and I think that that's in a map of his original letter to you. At that time, it missed some of the land that I'm really interested in. It didn't go south enough, another couple hundred feet. But that's all. And I wasn't sure what I should bring tonight, but I have a tentative map kind of talked in legalese and following south in a southerly direction and then east in an eastern. It's not really legalese, it's layout, talk, not really lawyer talk. I could do that and have that back to you to tell you specifically what I want. But those of David, myself, city manager, he's been down and you've looked at it. When you look at it, you can see very clearly just from Neto Street, it's just a little bit of land. But I don't have a map for you right now. I think in the I'm sorry, but in the resolution, we would have to make Manager Mayo happy. I mean, he wouldn't agree to anything that he wasn't happy with, so.
You don't need to make me happy. I just had to chuckle on that one. Let me, all right, so I got two questions. I'm sorry, you got a question?
I thought, David, didn't the original map say it was like 3.38 of an acre or something like that? Wasn't that originally what you
Yeah, it's an eighth of an acre, or, I mean,
No,
it's,
0.38.
It almost sounds like
Point-
things
point.
have jumped around quite a bit from what I'm gathering, that
Yeah.
your plan has changed quite a few times from what I'm hearing, right? You
no, my vision hasn't changed at all.
the size of it, though, the size of the parcel that
No.
you're looking for?
No, that hasn't changed.
I really don't want to argue with Mr. Mitchell in front of you people, but the original area was 16,450 square feet.
Okay.
His drawing is 1 acre.
No,
Yes, I did the maps. Again, I'm not going to argue with you, Jim.
So, Bill, have you seen this parcel of land that we're talking about?
Yeah.
I guess for me anyways, the bottom line is, do you feel it's in our best interest to sell this parcel of land to Mr. Mitchell?
You know, the biggest issue you're gonna have is the fact that we have that sewer main that runs through that property.
Which concerns
And
me.
if you give up land on either side of it, or try to, you're, right now, you don't have any access issue to get to that pipe. You own it, which is always better than having an easement anyway.
Right.
So you're gonna be giving up some of your rights. You've got access to a sewer main, that's anywhere between 9 and 14 feet in the ground, and it's a force main. I'm not gonna tell you to sell that piece of property. I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
And if I could add,
Yeah.
you can sell it, but as the floodplain manager for this community, I'm not going to let him do what he wants to do.
In that area, because of
I
the
think it's a
because of the
liability
FEMA
to the city to
regulations.
sell it.
That's, because to me, that was the two things. When I started off, it was the FEMA and it was the sewer main. And sewer actually took a higher priority to me, because I just think the flood thing over time will probably adjust itself, as you said. The
And,
new
and
maps will-
I have no doubt.
Right.
As far as a new map, there are new, to my knowledge, because we would have to adopt it, it would have to be presented to us by FEMA.
Right.
I have not seen anything.
Right.
I'm not questioning Mr. Mitchell that maybe somebody saw a map, but
Right. So to me, the sewer main was taking more of a priority than the,
may I address
Yeah,
that
FEMA.
sewer main issue? Because the sewer main crosses underneath other people's property on French Island. And so this, right now, the way I read the GIS maps that are publicly on the website, there are no other easements issued because people know there's a sewer main there, and if it busted, they'd have to dig it up. So I don't, the concern over a sewer is not, I mean, it's confusing to me, because there are all kinds of easements all over for sewers, but on French Island, as I read the GIS, there are no easements. It's just there, and people know it's there. So it's,
on the map that I'm seeing,
the
it goes.
GIS wouldn't show if it was an easement or not. I have a book with all the sewer easements.
Okay.
mm.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Any councilors? Mr. Mitchell, anything else?
Well,
If this doesn't pass, like I said, there's still two other options as far as I'm concerned. And Dave said he'd be okay with you doing what you do now
mhm.
there. And maybe there is another piece of property that within the city that we can sell you to do your thing
Mhm.
as an option if this doesn't pass tonight.
Okay, that's fair enough. I understand that David's quite opposed to it, but I would just add that this is something that I want to add to the community, and to me, it's I have changed. Some of my vision has been changed by listening to David. He wanted to make sure there was access to the river. That's a change. He wanted access all around this property on the riverside. That's changed. He wanted a possible potential parking. Well, there's 200 by 200 feet there. That's a change. But nothing has changed as far as my vision, and it's not for, it's for me, but it's for all of us. I mean, it's in our best interest, I believe. It's in our best interest to do this. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very
for-
much. Appreciate it. Okay, councils, anything to add to this?
Well, I understand his vision because I have him too, but
Yeah.
we don't always get what we think we should have.
Right. And I'm in hopes, I'm going to vote against this because I'm in hopes that David is going to let him continue doing what he's doing now there. And maybe there is another another parcel within the city that we could sell him to. So it is his own. So I still think there's two options out there for him, so.
Isn't there some potential for him to use that also if he would wish?
What, this one now?
Yes.
Well, that's why I said
Even if
he's
he
got two
doesn't buy
options.
it, we
Yes.
can-
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah,
can
no, that's what I've
use
been
it,
saying.
yeah.
Give him an easement to grow on if he'd like.
Well, that's what David, that's what we've been saying, that he can still do what he's doing now.
I want to clarify that. He can do what he's doing now.
Now, right,
He cannot expand on it.
right.
Again, this has been eye-opening for me too, because it's forced me to look at the floodplain management ordinance and
Right. So to me, he can do what he's doing now, and if he'd like to have something bigger, we can look in there's another parcel within the city that maybe we could sell him that we own, so he can expand it. So he still has options. That's my point.
Well, should I go up?
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah.
Let me. This is, again, I might not be hearing correctly, but this is a new statement from David. And David, does that mean I should not, like, cut any of that brush out? Is that an expansion?
That's the shoreline zone. You can do that.
I can.
Shoreline zoning and floodplain are totally.
Okay.
We talked about that when
Yeah.
Linda brought that up to us.
Because it's clear to me that the move right now is to deny this, my petition. That's my sense. So I would like to at least get an understanding from everyone in this room that I can at least continue. But I heard you say I couldn't grow any more food outside of the area that I'm growing it?
Correct.
That's a bit of a shock. And what leads you to that?
Because you're in the floodplain and I'm not going to allow you to bring fill in or anything for plotting soil.
So basically, you can do what you've been doing. You can do what you've been doing in the same area, and that would be.
So
the
that's
capacity
all
of
the
it.
neighbors that signed that petition that have a garden because they're in the floodplain, they can't expand their garden or anything like that?
We're not talking
Th-
about
this is-
anybody else.
That's right, Mr. Mitchell. We're strictly talking about this piece of land.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I just want to make clear, so that there would be no new beds or no new nothing.
That is correct.
Well, that's a bit of a,
Just
that's a bit
basically
of a
what
shock.
what you've been doing the last how many years? You'd be allowed to still do the same thing you've been doing.
But not grow anything more.
You can't expand that area, if I'm understanding it correctly from Mr. Russell, in that area. But like I said, hopefully there's another opportunity. There's another piece of land here within the city that maybe we could sell you.
Well,
so you can
before you
expand
vote,
that.
would it be prudent that we would seek some other advice? This is a bit of a shock, David, and before you voted on this, maybe we should table this, and I could seek some other advice or
Would it change if the new floodplain maps came out?
Possibly, but the photos I took at 5:30 tonight, that's not gonna change.
Right, right.
correct. But then, again, I mean, I agree with David. That's not where I would like to do some more planning, though.
Yeah. No, I think we're all set at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the council? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of selling the property? Opposed? 6-0. Okay. All right, moving on to the last two items. Can I get a motion to suspend the rules to discuss items that are not on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
John, second, it was Jan, okay. Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, next item, city council consider authorizing the city manager to submit a corporate authorization resolution to Bangor Savings Bank that lists the specific city staff along with their designated powers to execute day-to-day financial transactions. The specified staff includes Danielle Burby, Finance Director, Karen Dutton, Deputy Treasurer, and Tax Collector, and Bill Mayo, City Manager. Councilor Roach.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to submit a corporate authorization resolution to Bangor Savings Bank that lists the specific city staff along with their designated powers to execute day-to-day financial transactions with Bangor Savings Bank in their capacity as a city official relative to their respective job requirements.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Jan, discussion? Bill, anything you want to say on this?
No, I'm glad Danielle's here now because I won't have to transfer money any longer. So I'm thrilled to death that she's here.
So we're gonna meet her on the 15th.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. City Council will consider approving a settlement to discharge tax collector Miles Greenacre from real estate and personal property taxes committed. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the settlement to discharge Miles Greenacre, tax collector for the City of Old Town, as presented in Exhibit A.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Carol, discussion? This is just part of procedure.
House cleaning, yeah. We basically are discharging Miles from his duties as tax collector, treasurer, and going to authorize Danielle to do that. So I've got an appointment letter that she signed today, and they're just changing the duties from one to the other.
Okay.
Travis has done a recommitment of taxes document, so that'll be
Is
in
that
the
what you
commitment
passed
book.
out? You passed out something. Was that part of what you passed out? No, that was something different.
The taxes that are on the books, both personal and real estate, that will be the amount that
That's-
Miles has been doing.
Okay. Okay, any questions?
Is this sheet part of that?
That is.
Were you gonna explain that?
Yeah, can you, I think there was some,
That's what's on the books right now, that he's legally obligated to
there was just a
collect.
couple quick
If
questions.
he doesn't, you have to transfer that over to somebody else to collect it. He's retiring on May 11th.
So we still are owed 1454.16 from 2008 in taxes from
Well-
somebody?
Well, some of those are wrapped up, when you go through foreclosures on some of these, there can be IRS liens and things that are associated with those. We have one on Stillwater Avenue that we've been talking about. A couple of those are those.
Wrapped into that.
Right, are wrapped into that.
What was the other thing you asked earlier, Stan? It was something about, was it interest we figured out or something? Is that what we figured? You asked about a certain dollar amount, why it went up 1 year. Do we think that was interest or something?
No, that was this. That's what he just answered.
Oh, that's what it was, okay.
So we're probably never gonna get this, right?
Yeah, when you sell a building. If we ever get to the point where we can foreclose on it.
The larger years there, 2016, 17, yes, you'll get the majority of that. Some of these older ones, as you go back, probably not.
Probably not.
Okay.
And a lot of those are already wrapped up in our foreclosure list, so.
The personal property, do we have any way of getting that period? That's not on a foreclosure, it's not on a lien or anything like that. At some point in time, should we just wipe that off the books?
It's not worth that, is
$186.75.
Yeah.
File that complaint tomorrow.
It's gonna cost us 186 just for you to file a complaint.
Cost you that much?
It cost you more than that, son.
That's all you're owed in personal property.
No, that was just one.
07.
No, it's, I think,
118,762. 26, sorry.
The vast majority of that's in
2016, yeah. Out of the 94,000. Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, 6-0. We're gonna bring that up in the committee. Yep. Okay, where's my sheet? Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
And who seconded? Jan. All those in favor? None opposed? 7:45.